Please. I'm talking. So, I watched The Boys season 5, and let me tell you, this season is weird, man, because it's not the most horrible thing in the world, but after the past 4 seasons, it is definitely a letdown, and the season finale, which I'll get to in a minute, is just straight lies. And I'll get into it when I get there. But for this show and for this season specifically, I want to do an episodic breakdown, like going episode by episode and my thoughts on each episode before we get to the finale, because I think that just talking about the finale, which everybody is talking about right now, talking about the finale, I'll get there, but there's a lot of stuff in this season that is weak as fuck, but there's also a lot of stuff in this season that's actually pretty good and follows up with a lot of what The Boys has always given us. So I want to do it episode by episode. So this is going to be, I will do, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8, and I'll let you know what episode we're on. I will try to do a timestamp breaking down each episode, or, letting you know what episode I'm talking about, but this is going to be full spoilers, no spoiler free, nothing. We're just talking about it as it happens. Episode 1 starts out with basically Homelander is winning. He has all of the boys, not all of them, most of them, except Butcher and Kimiko. And Annie, I'm sorry. He has MM, Frenchie, and Huey, and basically American, internment camps, and it's pretty fucked up. I'm going to kind of just breeze through it as talk about what I feel is necessary. Basically, because they are in this camp, MM feels like he is getting very cynical. He thinks they're not going to get saved. He thinks that Homelander won and they're basically going to lose. Huey is, kind of the ray of hope character kind of thing. And Frenchie is just making a plan to get out. And that's essentially what it is. At the end of the episode, Homelander shows up because he basically suspects that Starlight is going to show up and try to help save the boys. Starlight shows up and she essentially tries to save the boys, and she does this light blast it's like a solar flare from Dragon Ball that basically blinds Homelander, and it doesn't do any damage, but it does show that he is susceptible to being his vision impaired, which, that's something that throughout this whole show, Butcher and the boys are always trying to find something that is going to damage or be useful against Homelander, and they have something literally right there that they never use again. And it's something with this season that they often forget to use these super powered people. Like, even Homelander doesn't use his abilities to the best of his ability because it's what the writers want to happen, and it's a little frustrating, and I'll get there. But anyway, basically Homelander gets the upper hand after this. They don't end up escaping, and Homelander's about to beam Huey, and A-Train shows up and saves Huey, and it's a very good moment. I believe it's a reference to one of the X-Men movies where Quicksilver, it's the one in the kitchen where he's running around, it's all slow motion, and he's poking people and moving things, and he's doing it, and in real time it speeds up and whatever. And I think this is really good, and basically Homelander ends up chasing A-Train because he feels betrayed basically by A-Train, and Homelander's a character that always feels like he's never doing anything wrong. It's his character, that's what it is. And so when he finally catches up with A-Train, which A-Train has a good full circle moment where he's running on the road and there's this lady walking to her car, and instead of running through her like this show started with him running through somebody because he can't stop, he actually jumps around her, which ends up getting him killed, but it's a good full circle moment for him because he is actually trying to be a hero and save people. And it's really good, and honestly, I'm not mad at it. A lot of people gave the show shit for killing off A-Train so quick. They thought, well, there's two groups. People who were mad that A-Train died as quickly as he did in this season, but then also people were like, oh shit, okay, so that means, anybody can get it. We're starting off with a big kill. I thought A-Train was going to come back in season 4 and die, so I'm not mad about seeing him again in season 5 and getting him a good little, full circle wrap up for his character. I thought it was very enjoyable. Basically, Homelander's there, and A-Train basically tells him, I don't know why I was scared of you. He goes, you're nothing. And it's so good because with the finale, Homelander is only who he is because of his powers. He is not a good person. He doesn't, nobody likes him. Nobody cares about him. All this stuff. It's only because of his powers. And so A-Train in that final moment being like, what was I scared of? You're nothing. Good dialogue. I really liked it. I'm trying to keep this, I'm trying to move fast here so that way I can really talk about the things that I want to talk about. But A-Train's death, I expected it way long ago, so I'm not mad about it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good wrap up, him dodging the girl and you know, ended up getting him killed by Homelander, but he still saved somebody in the process and, well, saved the girl, you know, not that she was in danger. He was the danger and he chose to go around her, but also saving Huey and coming in last second. I thought it was a good moment, especially with the A-Train like sound cue, like the whatever. I know that was probably ass, but whatever. So episode 2, they're all out now, and they basically have the soup-killing virus that they have been working on, which, again, I'm sorry, I don't remember if they figured that out in season 4, if it was going on during season 5. It's been a couple weeks since we watched the first 2 episodes, because literally the finale just came out 2 days ago when I'm recording this, so, yeah, I don't remember all the little itty bits and pieces. But anyway, episode 2 basically introduces a new superhero group called Teenage Kicks. I'm assuming they're supposed to be like Teen Titan, kind of like, not ripoff, but like younger generation of superheroes. And they basically have this like frat house, I guess. And they basically go there to test out the virus. That's the whole point, is that they are trying to see if it works. And they basically try to lock the house down so that no virus gets out, because the whole problem with the virus is if it gets released, it'll kill soups, all of them. Even innocent ones that haven't hurt anybody or anything like that, it's a virus that will spread to everybody. Basically, all this episode does is show you that the virus does work. They basically set it off in the house and end up killing a couple of the Teenage Kicks characters who, you know, it's kind of tragic because they're young, but then again, this show doesn't really hold back on that kind of shit, so it is what it is. But this thing here, this episode is where Homelander releases Soldier Boy, who was in the cryo tube. So in this episode, Homelander is scared of the virus because he doesn't want to get infected and die. So he basically sends Soldier Boy to go test out if it'll kill soups or not, like if it works. But he kind of uses it as a way to be like, no, I'm not sending you there as a test dummy. I'm sending you there because you're my most trusted ally. And Soldier Boy goes there, he gets trapped, he gets the virus, and then, boom. He actually lives. He lives. So Soldier Boy doesn't die to the virus because he has V1, which is like the original version of the superhero drug or whatever that gives you superpowers. He has the earliest form, so therefore he doesn't die. And you know, at the end of the episode, he's like, and then he sits up in the stretcher or whatever. I knew that Soldier Boy wasn't gonna die. There's no way they killed him off with just a virus. There's no fucking way. So yeah, that's episode 2. It's starting off okay. The season started off okay. It was all right so far. So episode 3. So this is the start of a big problem that a lot of people had with this season, and I honestly did too, which was super, super frustrating. But anyway, okay. This episode includes Ryan. He's in Russia. He kills a bunch of Russian soldiers and basically flies back to America. And essentially, Butcher tries to recruit Ryan to help fight Homelander, and Ryan says no. That's like the big thing of this episode is Ryan's like, no, I'm not involved. I don't want to be involved, whatever. And it has the boys basically running around looking for the V1. They basically find out, I don't know if it's episode 2 or in this episode, that the reason that Soldier Boy lived is because he has V1, and potentially there is V1 still out there. At least one vial of V1 still exists. So if somebody's gonna use it, or if Homelander gets a hold of it, he cannot die to the virus, which is a big problem. And in this episode, Soldier Boy, this is the problem that a lot of people have. Soldier Boy gets pissed off at Homelander because he basically used him as bait for the virus. That's essentially what he figures out, is that Homelander used me as bait to see if the virus would kill me, and it didn't, and now I'm pissed off. And that's how this episode goes. Soldier Boy sleeps with Firecracker, who I will talk more about later for this season as a whole, but this episode, he's mad at Homelander, so he sleeps the firecracker because he thought that Homelander was sleeping with her, and that's really it. Also, I'm just gonna put this in here because I don't really know where to put this in for the whole season as an entirety, but the Deep is a character that, okay, this is gonna be hard for me to explain because I'm gonna sound like such a douchebag. I find over the top characters very funny. And what I mean by that is I've thought of this example for a long time. And do you remember Andrew Tate? That guy, that like hyper masculine Sigma, like, oh, women deserve men, the breadwinner, the man is the most important. They should, that kind of guy. Okay. There was a couple clips of him in an interview where he was saying the things that he normally says, but he like starts laughing about it, like breaking character. So in my brain, I see that guy as a person who doesn't fully believe everything he's saying. He's just amping it up to get a reaction out of people. The Deep is that kind of character for me. The things that he says, I don't believe or agree with, but that kind of archetype of person or character is so funny to me because it's so almost unbelievable. But the Deep is consistently the most entertaining character in this show. Homelander is the best acted and he's the best villain, and when he's on screen, he takes the fucking show. It is his show. But the Deep is so funny, and I understand that he is a bad person, and I don't sympathize or idolize with him, but he's so fucking funny that he never takes blame for any of his problems, nothing. It's so funny to me. Real quick, I want to say for episode 3, "No cap on God, bro," is one of the funniest fucking lines in the entire show. This basically, they find Stan Edgar and are talking about V1 in this episode, and they decide to use Stan Edgar as a way to figure out about V1 or whatever. But Maverick is a character from Gen V that is in the show, or in The Boys, you know, and he basically ends up getting killed, and Starlight thinks that it's Huey who gets killed, and she gets really emotional and she ends up leaving, which sets up in episode 4 why she is not with the boys. But with that being said, we're gonna jump into episode 4. This is where this is the biggest problems that I have. They announced that they are doing a show called Vault Rising, which is a prequel series starring Jensen Ackles or Soldier Boy, talking about basically the first original V1 experiments, talking about Soldier Boy's brother and his little squad of people. And so with that being said, okay, with that being said, this whole episode is basically a fucking, what they call a backdoor pilot. It's one show that's basically setting up another show while being in this show. And this is the problem that I have. They basically go to this fort where they get tipped off that essentially a possibly V1 is there, because this is where Soldier Boy and all of his little friends that are going to be in Vault Rising, this is where they all got their experiments done on them. So if V1 exists, it would be here. This is this place that it would be. The boys go there. It's Huey, Kimiko, and Butcher. During all of this at the fort, Annie is actually talking to her dad, and it's a really good scene where he basically explains why he wasn't around in her life and why he has a whole new family. And it's kind of fucked up, and it's kind of sad actually, because she has a really good line where he basically says, "I either had two choices, like one, not be there, or two, be lying to myself." Or no, he says something around like be there but not be with your mother, or something like two options, where he was like, "I didn't have a choice, I had to leave." And she basically goes, "I would have accepted either." Like, she just needed her father around because her mom was kind of a bad person. But it's a really good arc, or like, you know, character stuff for Annie, especially, you know, her being with her dad. It's the final season, and her having a younger brother that buys into all of the Vault propaganda that Starlight is like this like terrorist or whatever her little brother calls the cops, literally. And but it's really good. I think it's really good for her character, and she ends up coming back in later on. But back to the fort, which is the biggest problem that I have. Okay, this is nitpicky and I don't care. Everybody gave Invincible a whole bunch of shit for the power scaling. Homelander is a character that has been shown to literally be able to hear people's heartbeats standing in the room with them. in the fort, there is a character that I don't even know the name of, but he essentially is releasing this toxic gas in the air that makes people more aggressive. And the boys end up getting to a fight with each other. MM is talking shit to Huey. Huey is talking shit to MM. They're talking shit to Kimiko, and Butcher's off walking around doing his own thing. But Butcher's like not even really with them. He's at the fort, but he's not with them. And so and Frenchie is there also, I believe. I don't know why I forgot about Frenchie, but also Frenchie, because he's done so many drugs in his life, he's unaffected by the gas, which I actually don't hate that. That's funny and it makes sense ish, whatever. It's fine, but he is basically the voice of reason because everybody else is fucked up on this drug, like getting aggressive with each other. And basically they start throwing shit around. Kimiko is throwing fucking MM around on tables, throwing Huey around. They're fucking fighting, breaking shit, and doing all this kind of shit. And Soldier Boy and Homelander show up at the same time because, like I said, Soldier Boy was here when the V1 was here. So he was like, well, if there's any place it's gonna be there. And he goes, and Homelander and Soldier Boy are there. They're in the building. They're only a stairwell away from the boys fighting and fucking each other up. And Homelander doesn't hear it. What happened to the being super hearing? That's what one of the problems that is there is with this season is they use their powers in cool ways when they want to, but they forget about certain ones when it would interrupt the plot or things that they have going on. And again, I know it's nitpicky. I didn't really give a fuck, but I saw so many people giving Invincible shit week after week for the power scaling being dog shit, but this is power scaling. And I didn't see anybody fucking complain. I mean, I saw a couple comments of being like, how did Homelander not hear? Whatever. But anyway, this leads to Homelander and Soldier Boy are walking around, and Soldier Boy leads Homelander into this room, and he closes the door and breaks off the latch, and basically it's a uranium cell that they would use to test on Soldier Boy, and he basically was like, I'm pissed off at you for the things that you did with the virus and whatever, and doing his Soldier Boy thing. So he helps Homelander in the second episode. He was pissed off at him at the third episode. Then he said, okay, I'll help you in the fourth episode. I'll bring you to where the V1 possibly is, but then he locks him in a cell because he's pissed off at him. But he literally this whole season, he jumps back and forth, and it's not over. I'll get to it because it's not over. Anyway, Soldier Boy ends up walking around, and he finds the guy that's releasing the chemicals, and he's like, oh my God, what did they do to you? Oh, you used to be so much better, blah, 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 blah. It's basically him just referencing shit that we've never seen that they're going to explain in Vault Rising. This whole episode is a backdoor pilot for Vault Rising, and I don't fucking care. No, I don't care about Vault Rising. I like Soldier Boy as a character. People love him. I like him. He's not the best character in the show, and he's funny, but like not really. Like him being like, oh, I dream about bitches every night with big fat tits, and I come on the like I don't. This show is known for being vulgar and over the top and showing things like a lot of dicks or people exploding or like hero-gasm specifically. It's an orgy with heroes. It's a specific thing that's supposed to be vulgar, but it's realistic because shit like that happens in real life. But I don't find Soldier Boy to be the funniest, most comedic character in the show. I don't want a whole show about him. And also, he's not a good person. He's not a good fucking person. He's a racist. He kills fucking innocent people. Are we going to try to redeem Soldier Boy, a racist, terrible piece of shit character? Yes, there's a lot of evil characters in this show that don't get redeemed. Why Soldier Boy? I don't know. This episode felt very frustrating. And for people going, oh, it's filler. It's not filler, but it's not good. Like, it's an okay episode, but it's not good. But anyway, Soldier Boy ends up talking to this character that we've never seen before, never heard of before, nothing. And he's like, oh my God, you used to be the good one. And he's crying. And Homelander eventually gets out of the uranium thing, and he's like pissed off. And Soldier Boy's like, just kill me if you're gonna kill me. I don't care. I've lost everything. And then he doesn't do it, and then they just move the fuck on to the next episode. It's like, they didn't find V1. They realized that if somebody has it, it's not there. So they went there almost for nothing. The only good thing about this episode was Annie's plot. That's literally it. That was literally it. Like, and again, don't get me wrong. This show has immaculate acting from every fucking character. I don't care. You cannot tell me the acting in this show is bad at all. Huey, Jack Quaid, amazing. Starlight, I'm sorry I don't know her real name, amazing. Butcher, amazing. Kimiko's acting. Frenchie, the Deep, Noir, Firecracker, Sister Sage, who else am I forgetting? Homelander, Soldier Boy, all Ashley, all of every person is doing their job here. I'm not complaining about the acting. I am strictly complaining about the things that they are forced to say by the writers' room. Because I'm sorry, some of this stuff, it feels so forced. Like, it feels like a fucking pilot, like they're setting up a show that we don't give a fuck about in the season finale. If they would have done this in season 3 or 4, maybe more acceptable. This is the last season, and we're moving at a snail's pace. We are halfway through, and the virus doesn't work, okay? The plan for the virus didn't work, right? They're looking for V1 because they're hoping they can get it away from Homelander, okay? And they haven't found it, and then we're gonna jump to episode 5. But, like, the problem this season is they're acting like it's a 16-episode season, and it's 8. And we're halfway through, and we have nothing. We basically get reset. We basically are reset. Episode 5 is what they call the one-shots or whatever, and it basically starts out with Firecracker, and it talks about her story. Then it goes Black Noir, talks about her story. It's basically building up these characters who haven't gotten a lot of singular screen time. They're always around Homelander or whatever, or there's an episode, or I'm sorry, there's a one shot with Terror Butcher's dog, which a lot of people gave shit on. I don't know. I'll get into it in a minute. Basically, we get Firecracker's story, and basically she talks to a priest that raised her, and because Homelander is basically trying to be the new god and take over all the previous established Christian churches, they're going under. And the priest that Firecracker is talking to is like, hey, you have some weight. Maybe try to talk to him to spare our church. I raised you. We grew up together. Or not we grew up together, but I was like a father figure. And Firecracker is forced to make a choice where she either goes against Homelander and dies, or she gives up all of her moral values, because her whole thing is that she's trying to survive Homelander. That's basically what a lot of characters are doing. They're trying to survive Homelander, and so she's willing to say and do anything that will make Homelander think that she's on his side. But she genuinely, truly believes in Christ, and she's a Christian person. She was raised as a Christian. And so in this episode, which I don't know if it happens exactly in this chronological order, but she basically talks to the priest. He's like, hey, can you help us? She goes, yeah, I'll try. And she goes to Homelander, and Homelander is basically like, hell no, whatever. Just talk bad about him and say that he touched you inappropriately, whatever. And she's like, well, he didn't do that, whatever. And so they basically make her get on her like news show, which is Firecracker's thing. It's her like, whatever. And she gets on there and she lies about the priest. She basically says that he probably was doing bad things to other little girls. It never happened to her, but a single tear falls down. And Firecracker's character, and because of this, right, later on, Homelander's in her like apartment or whatever, and she's like, no, I believe in you. You're the one true God, because he basically is like, you're fired or something. And she's like, no, please, sir, please. Like, I'll do anything, whatever. And he's like, God, you'll do anything for my approval. And he kills her. Firecracker's character is somebody who, in order to live, gave up every moral value that she had. She lied on people who helped her just to live, and still died. It's so poetic. It's so good. She either is like, no, I'm not going to lie on this priest, and Homelander will kill her, because why are you not agreeing with everything I say? But she did it anyway. She lied on bro and the priest and the church and everything, and still died for it. And it's so fucking sad. It's like actually kind of sad for her character. She's not a good person. She's done deplorable, fucked up shit, but it's still upsetting to see that even when you give Homelander what he wants, it's still not enough. And her realizing that was so good. This is where I'm going to get into fan theory, okay? The fan theories for this season were tenfold better than anything that we got in this season. I saw a theory that Black Noir was actually Sam from Gen V, okay? And because the Deep in one of the episodes is like, Black Noir just disappears every time around lunchtime and without saying a word. I don't know. He just disappears. And so I was like, oh shit. Okay, I heard that theory and I was like, okay, it's Sam working with the Starlighters and he's inside and they actually killed the real Black Noir and the reason he's leaving is to go like tell information or whatever. Nope. Nope. Black Noir is just going to act. He's an actor. And I don't hate it. That's the problem is I don't hate it. I don't hate Black Noir being an actor, and then the Deep decides to follow him and realizes that he's trying to like leave the Seven kind of, or like pursue his acting career, but also be in the Seven at the same time. And the Deep ends up killing the director of the play or the movie that he's trying to get. And it basically makes a rift between the Deep and Black Noir, which, you know, they have a podcast together and the Deep, or I'm sorry, Black Noir never says anything. And this will come to fruition in a later episode, or fruition. This will come forward, whatever, in the next episode. Then we get the one shot with Terror. It's basically just the Boys HQ, what they're doing. And essentially, we don't know what's going on, but Frenchie and Butcher are working on something because the virus hasn't worked. Mind you, we're more than halfway through this season and we're trying to figure out new things to kill Homelander. That's a problem. That's a big problem. We've had 4 seasons to figure out shit that he's weak to, and we're telling me that episode 5 with 3 episodes later, we're figuring something out. It's too late for that. It's too late for that. We need to have something going on and we have to go and do it. I don't know. Throughout this entire season, Butcher's been like, I want to release the virus, kill all Soups, all of them need to die. Huey is like, you realize that'll kill Starlight, my girlfriend, and Kimiko, Frenchie's girlfriend, right? And Butcher's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. And this episode, Huey and Butcher's like, you know, mate, I'm not even gonna try to do his accent because that was straight dog shit. That was straight ass. And he's like, you know what? Maybe there's a way we can work around and we don't have to kill all Soups. And Huey's like, oh my God, thank you. Like, thank you. Like, that actually, you know what I mean? You're being reasonable, whatever. This also is the Supernatural reunion episode. Oh my God. Seeing Jared Padalecki and Misha Collins in a Boys episode with Jensen Ackles was so fucking awesome. It was amazing. I loved it. I loved the jokes. I loved their acting. I thought the Seth Rogen thing was hilarious. All the comedians and the dudes around the tables, I don't know all of their names, but I thought all that shit was really funny. I thought it was funny how they were kind of kissing Homelander's ass, and how you had Seth Rogen being like, oh, I don't smoke weed, it's just part of my brand, and him talking about like, oh, I reported so-and-so as a Starlighter. Like, I thought all of that shit was really, really funny. And then all of them die. All of them. Like, I understand, like, Jared Padalecki was shown in the trailer of this season for being in it. He was in it for 25 minutes and then is dead. Like, this season was a straight up lie from Amazon Prime, bro, and I'll get into more. But yeah, it was really upsetting to see them all die so fast, especially Misha. Like, this was a great reunion episode, but this is another thing where Soldier Boy was pissed off at Homelander the last episode. This episode, right? Homelander actually gets knocked out, which is another thing that we could have used against Homelander. He gets knocked out by Misha Collins' fucking mouth gas or whatever, and so Soldier Boy goes, yeah, he's a fucking weirdo. And Jared Padalecki and Misha Collins, they're like, yeah, we can kill him and take him over, whatever. And he's like, yeah, but he's my little fucking weirdo. And then Soldier Boy kills everybody and saves Homelander, even though he was pissed off at him. And then episode 6. This episode starts with Sister Sage is basically working on a plan to try to... Sister Sage understands that she cannot let Homelander get this V1. So this episode is where she basically sets it up to where Soldier Boy, she tries to get Soldier Boy pissed off at Homelander, which, hey, we've been doing that for the past 5 fucking episodes. What are we doing? Anyway, she sets up a camera and it's video of Homelander fucking Stormfront or doing something nasty to Stormfront, who, by the way, in the seasons that Soldier Boy was introduced, he was in love with the Red Countess or whatever her name is. That was his love interest, and she betrayed him, and he ends up killing her or something. In like season 3 this happened. Season 4. I'm pretty sure it's season 3. But this season, all of a sudden, Soldier Boy is like, oh my God, I loved Stormfront. I loved Clara. All this stuff about fucking Clara. Do you know what they're doing? They're setting up a love relationship in Vought Rising between Soldier Boy and Stormfront, who Soldier Boy is a known racist and bad person, and Stormfront on screen is a literal Nazi. Are we going to really make Vought Rising about these two characters being in love? They're fucking villains. They're bad people. But anyway, this random plot thing that they're throwing in that was never mentioned one time before, this thing that they're doing, this makes Soldier Boy mad at Homelander. This is Sage's plan to basically make it so that Soldier Boy will want to kill Homelander, and Soldier Boy has a chest beam that can take people's powers away, so she's hoping that he'll use the chest beam to zap Homelander, and maybe they can kill Homelander that way. That's what this episode is basically setting up. This episode has to do with V1 and actually getting it. This is what happens in this episode. They actually get V1 in this episode. It's a guy named Bombsight. Bombsight has it. Bombsight is a character that was friends with Soldier Boy, who is assumably going to be in the V1 or in the Vought Rising show. Okay. He's in love with a character named Geisha, who is a soup who was like on TV and stuff, and they fell in love, but she wouldn't take V1 because V1 essentially makes you immortal and live forever. She didn't want that, and he had it, so he still has the one vial of V1 that he wants to give to her so that they can live forever together. It's an okay plot line for these two characters that are just introduced this episode. But basically, Sage is helping the boys at this point, and she sets it up so that the boys are there when Bombsight gets there, but so is Soldier Boy, okay? They all get into a big tussle, and also there's one line that I really want to mention that I really, really liked and really enjoyed, and it comes from Kimiko, and she says to Geisha, who is Asian descent, Asian, like an ethnically Asian. I don't really like know the right way to say that. I feel dumb because I don't know, but and so Kimiko says, Geisha had a TV show called like Detective something where she's a detective. I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly, but she goes, I just want you to know you've done a lot of good, and you don't know how much it meant to me as a kid to look at the TV and see somebody who looked like me. That's fucking great. That is one of the best lines from this entire fucking season. It's so good. It's so good. It's very, very good. Like, that line from Kimiko, who now talks now. Everybody shit on Kimiko for talking. It doesn't sound weird, or it doesn't sound right. Just because she doesn't sound like how you expected or doesn't mean that it's bad. I just think that the dialogue that they made her say was weird. Like, Kimiko did say a lot of, like, fuck this guy, like, doing a lot of sign language stuff. But, like, she was like, she just says a lot of like over the top stuff that like you would hear Butcher say or like Frenchie say, but it doesn't really feel like something that she would say, but whatever. It was fine. I got used to it after like episode 3. It was whatever. But essentially I'm gonna just jump to the end of this episode, okay? Bombsight and Soldier Boy are fighting, and Soldier Boy convinces Bombsight to give him the V1. He gives him the V1, so Soldier Boy now has it, and Homelander shows up. Okay? Remember, this episode started with Soldier Boy being mad. Genuinely being mad at fucking at Homelander for the Clara thing, right? That's what it started out on. Now, Sage's whole plan was to get Soldier Boy mad at Homelander so that way if Soldier Boy got the V1, he would not give it to him. Or he would do something or kill him or whatever. Homelander shows up in the field. All of the boys are in the woods watching this happen. Soldier Boy gives him the V1 and says, this is what Clara would have wanted. Bro, what? What? Who is writing this fucking show? Clara? Soldier Boy and Clara have literally, I don't think, have ever had... Stormfront and Soldier Boy have never had one scene together. Not one. And we're supposed to buy that he gives Homelander the immortality V1 just because some bitch that he supposedly liked in a show that we haven't seen yet? Are we serious? And Homelander, he takes it, and he does this big beam blast into the sky, and it's like, oh shit, it's going down. Oh my God, he just got V1. He is a god. He is the god that he thinks that he is now, right? And Butcher goes, rolling. And guess what? Episode 7 cuts to them chilling in the safe house. Is there any stakes in this show at all? This dude just got the number one thing that we did not want him to get. I thought it was going to open up with them fighting, maybe having to hide, Homelander going on a rampage now that he's a god and nobody can stop him. It just cuts to nothing. And then they have the nerve to show the Gen V characters, and basically Annie tells Marie Monroe, you are not strong enough and don't have control of your powers to fight Homelander. Hey, writer's room. Hey, Eric Kripke, did you watch Gen V? The whole second season from start to end was about Marie controlling her powers. And as a matter of fact, the last episode of Gen V, she controls her powers to kill Thomas Godolkin, the guy who made V1. She is more than capable of doing it. So the Gen V characters are completely fucking sidelined this entire fucking season. This entire season. Mind you, I'll get in it finale. Anyway, so this episode has Butcher and Huey trying to basically find out where Homelander is and get in so that they can try to fight him and kill him, whatever, who cares. It has MM and Starlight doing their own thing where they're trying to save a bunch of people who are watching this new Homelander Jesus movie thing where Homelander basically becomes the second coming of Jesus Christ, and MM and Starlight are there, and they end up basically getting into a fight with a couple of soups and whatever. MM has a really good speech about why he has the name Mother's Milk and why he's a caring person. And this speech basically wraps up his kind of arc this season, where in this first episode, he was very cynical, basically saying, we're going to die, we're going to lose Homelander 1. He slowly became more like Butcher over the season, like kind of being like, all soups got to go, all of them got to die, they're all bad, everything. It kind of built up to that. And then, he has a speech about how he's going to be a motherfucker with a heart and how he's going to try to save people. And it basically brings him back to the character that he was, but it solidifies him. It's a really good speech. It's a great speech. Here's my problem with this episode. Okay. There's more problems than this, but this is one of the big problems. This is episode 7. We have one episode left before the entire show is completely finito, completely done. And Butcher and Huey are on this set of whatever, and they get captured by a psychic, and they're in a room together, and this is episode 7. If Butcher and Huey get captured in season 3, it makes sense for them to finagle their way out. They should be dead. They are captured by a psychic. O-Father knows that they're there, and Homelander is aware that they're there. And Homelander tells the psychic guy that captured them, don't kill them, I want to talk to them, which allows them to make a bullshit escape, which is so fucking annoying because this is not Scooby-Doo, bro. You do not get captured and then get out the next fucking, scene. What this episode did, it basically showed that Butcher is a character who is willing to sacrifice the team in order to get what he needs, right? Because it talks about Joe Kessler, who is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. They basically talk about back in the military, there was a mission that they were on. Joe Kessler knew that they were all going to die, and he told Butcher to retreat, and Butcher chose not to. The psychic guy is able to shapeshift into Joe Kessler, so he looks like him, and because he's a psychic, he's reading all the memories from Butcher's mind, so he's telling it as factual. And it's basically saying Butcher will sacrifice people to get his mission done, which, mind you, has been his character the whole fucking show. The whole show. This is not new information. And mind you, this is episode 7 of the season, the last season. You do not need to do more character building. If you need to do character building in the last episode of, the episode before the last episode, you didn't do good enough in the previous seasons if you're still needing to do that. But anyway, they finagle their way out of it with Huey doing something to distract the psychic, and then Butcher uses his tentacle powers. It's such bullshit. Homelander in the first episode was willing to beam Huey's head off at the concentration camp or the internment camp, whatever. I don't know if that's insensitive to say, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But that's what it is. That's literally what it is. They're forced to wear specific clothing. It's literally what it is. And Butcher had Huey right here and was gonna beam his eyes off, and he got saved by A-Train. What reason does Homelander have to keep these characters alive just so that he can see them die? He has no reason to do that. It's just a plot device to keep them alive. It's so frustrating. But anyway, what happens in this episode is Sage, Frenchie. Oh, also, Sage's whole plan was that Soldier Boy wasn't going to give the V1 to Homelander, which he did. So then she basically gets depressed and is like, I'm an idiot. How did I not see that? I can't control human, or I can't predict human emotions. I'm so dumb. And she's basically like, well, I give up. I don't care anymore. I saw another fan theory that said Sage's plan was to give Homelander fake V1 so that he would think that he's a god, but it actually would like hurt him or something. And that way, you know, she has some alternate plan because Sage is a character that's actively shown to have contingency plans for everything. Like, you think Batman is smart? Fuck that. Sage has literally thought of every individual step of the way and everything that could go right or wrong and thinks of, and all of a sudden she's just like, I didn't expect Soldier Boy to do that. Well, I give up. Bro, what? Anyway. So this episode, she is basically sitting there watching Love Island, and Frenchie and her bond over Love Island. They basically bond over Love Island, and it convinces Sage to help Frenchie in their endeavor. What is their endeavor, mind you? They are trying to put the beam that Soldier Boy has inside of Kimiko so that she can use that ability to remove Homelander's powers. Also, Homelander chokes out Soldier Boy and puts him back in a cryotube, and that's it for Soldier Boy. He's not in the finale. He doesn't fight anymore. He gets choked out by God Homelander, and is put back in the cryotube, and I'm just gonna spoil it now. In the finale, we don't see him. So we're assuming that after the finale is over and everything that happens, which I will get into, but everything that happens, Soldier Boy is still just in a cryotube somewhere, just asleep. They built up his character and made him way more important this entire season than he needed to be. He was not that fucking important. They made him way more important than he needed to be, and he ends up in a cryotube for the rest of the fucking show. That is terrible. That's garbage writing. Anyway, Homelander finds out where Sage, Frenchie, and Kimiko are and their little experiment. He shows up. Frenchie hides Kimiko and Sage in a uranium box or whatever so Homelander can't see through him. And this is another power scaling inconsistency. Frenchie's running around. He's trying to hide from Homelander, right? Homelander can't hear where he is. But then he gets to a wall and he goes like this. And Homelander like speeds in. And he's like right there. It's a pretty cool scene. It's a pretty cool scene to see how fast Homelander can move. But how did he not hear him? Because he was in the building and Frenchie was running and sprinting around. Whatever. This brings us to the death of Frenchie. It hit. It's an emotional moment between Kimiko and Frenchie because this whole season, Frenchie and Kimiko were talking about have kids and living their lives together and all that stuff. And of course, that's not going to happen when you have a finale and you have characters talking like that. Of course, they're going to die. But it was a good moment. You know, Frenchie says, I bet you've never danced in your life. And he basically locks Homelander in the uranium room, and it eventually... which they cut out the part of Homelander actually killing Frenchie. I thought that he died of uranium poisoning because he's not a superhero and it's like radiation, it would kill him. But no, Homelander like stabbed him in the gut and went like that and like fucked up his torso. But they cut that part out because in and Starlight's plot, the two soups that they fight, it's a dog soup and a cat soup, and they sniff each other's ass. And guess what they had for lunch? They cut out Frenchie actually getting stabbed so that two soups that we don't even know their names of can sniff each other's ass because they're animal soups. I know people are giving this season a lot of shit, and it's deserved. It's so deserved. Like, bro. Hey, if you're enjoying the video real quick, think about throwing me a like possibly. And if you enjoy this kind of content, TV and movie reviews, and I also just started doing reactions. If you enjoy that kind of content, maybe throw me a subscribe. I appreciate that. I also have a Discord. There's pages and channels in there for movie and TV discussion along with manga, comic discussion. I really like a lot of different kind of storytelling and stuff. So there will be a link in the description for my Discord if you want to join that and talk about some stuff. And there's also a suggestion page where you can suggest movies or things for me to watch and review or react to live on stream or just review in general. So yeah, if you enjoy my kind of stuff or you want to join my community, go ahead and go over there or throw me a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I had to break this up into 2 different parts. I actually ran out of time during my first recording because it was like 50 minutes of me talking about The Boys, and it was really long. And I honestly like to talk about stuff. Maybe you think that I like to hear myself talk, but I really just like getting all my thoughts out. And so if the video is long, I'm sorry about that, but we're going to be covering the finale specifically for The Boys season 5, or just the finale of the show in this little part. It's obviously all going to be one long video, but I'm just saying this is a different day that I recorded the previous parts that you have been seeing. But one thing that I want to mention real quick with episode 7, I didn't mention, but once Homelander gets the V1 at the end of episode 6, it jumps to episode 7. Homelander actually disbands the 7. And the Deep is a character, you know, he asks Homelander, maybe I could take over the 7, whatever, and he's like, I don't have any use for it or something like that. That's basically his whole spiel. And so at this point in episode 7, I remember thinking, okay, because I thought that Homelander might give the 7 to the Deep. You know what I mean? Keep Vaught's image, keep the 7 image, but then just give it to the Deep and Homelander can be his god and do his own thing. But because if you don't give him the 7, if you don't give the Deep to, or I'm sorry, if you don't give the 7 to the Deep like they did, you have no point of keeping the Deep around. So in the finale, I am like, what is the point of the Deep's character? I thought maybe he'll have a little thing where he turns on Homelander and he helps the boys. Nope, he doesn't do that. And so one of my critiques for the finale is we spend too much time on the Deep and Starlight. The things that happen to the Deep, him getting killed by the sea animals, and him fighting Starlight and him saying no to responsibility and character development, that's all good. That's enjoyable. That doesn't need to be in the finale. You could definitely move that to episode 7, like towards the end, like that be the ending of episode 7, the Deep dying, and you still get the same payoff. And I know that Frenchie died at the end of episode 7, but I'm just saying, the Deep, like I said earlier on in this video, I really like the Deep. I think he's comedy gold. I think he's very funny. I don't like him as a person, but for what he is in the show, he's a bad person who doesn't take responsibility, and up until the last minute of his life, he never took responsibility for any of the fucked up shit that he did. But did it need to be in the finale? Not really. I don't think he was important enough. The problem with this finale is not the actual content itself, because as much as people want to compare this ending to Game of Thrones, it's not nearly that bad. The problem with this finale is it's just okay. It's just fine. It's okay at most. And that's the problem. The one thing I wanted to say is, when it comes to the Gen V characters, you know, in my brain, I want to go, imagine you have Marie Monroe, Jordan, Emma, Sam, all these characters from Gen V that got built up, and then you have Kimiko, Butcher, Ryan, Huey, MM. I know that, you know, Huey and MM don't have powers, but could you imagine Homelander and Soldier Boy versus the Gen V and the Boys cast all together in this huge final battle, right? So it would have been, this show had the potential to have one of the best finales in TV, period, in my opinion. I genuinely think that. And is it fair to critique a show or a finale or whatever you want to say based on what could have been? Not really, because Eric Kripke said that the Gen V characters weren't going to be fighting Homelander, which it sucks, but is it fair to judge a show based on what could have been? No. But it is fair to judge a show based on what they advertised. So this Homelander floating in space while the entire Earth is getting destroyed and blown up, scorched Earth style, doesn't happen. This Butcher standing in front of or on the rubble of Vought Tower doesn't happen. So when you show and you advertise this season is going to be scorched fucking Earth, everything's getting destroyed, everything's falling apart, and it doesn't happen, it's a letdown. It feels lackluster. They basically just make a plan they know where Homelander's going to be, and they just make a plan to walk into the White House and fight Homelander, and they do. It's basically, they just do. And Huey and MM end up fighting O-Father, who I didn't really mention this season, but O-Father's great. Again, when I say everybody's acting in this show is top-notch. but it's just the writing that is the problem. And when it comes to this season as a whole, the finale is actually one of the better episodes out of this entire season, but this is the ending of the show. So when you're going to compare it as an ending, and it just misses the mark. Huey and MM fight Oh Father, who does a great job. He ends up getting killed by a ball gag. It's funny, crude humor, whatever. It's a wrap up to his character. Fine. Obviously the boys are safe. And then that leaves I'm sorry. I'll mention the deep thing. Annie ends up flying the deep to the beach, and a lot of people online right now are complaining about why would she take him to the beach? She had no idea that the sea animals didn't like him. She has no idea. Why would she go there? There's no dude. I mean, that feels like a nitpick to me. I know that I probably have said a million things that you could consider nitpicks, but like her going to the beach when she doesn't know that the deep has like the deep doesn't have what he's not a water bender. He can talk to animals and breathe in the ocean. That doesn't mean that going to the beach is going to be his stomping ground. That's not like that doesn't, I don't know. I feel like that's a nitpick, but I think that it works well for Annie's character where she got into the seven and the deep was the guy who kind of set this whole chain of events off with him trying to SA her. And so it's a good moment wrap up for her character, and especially his when he dies. I think more kind of needed to happen to him instead of just a random kraken-sized fucking octopus. I know giant octopus exists, but this dude was not that far into the ocean. He was like maybe 100 feet out. Those size creatures are like deep ocean creatures. Whatever. Maybe that's a nitpick. I don't know. But it just felt he died, and it was like, damn, it kind of sucks to see the deep go out, or it doesn't suck. Like, you knew it was happening. But like, I don't know. It was okay. Then we get to, like I said, Kimiko, Butcher, and Ryan versus Homelander. So basically, Homelander is making his giant spiel about being the new god to a teleprompter. I am not considering this a monologue because what I'm about to say, you could say, oh, well, no. He's reading a teleprompter. He's reading what people wrote for him and what he's saying. And at the end, he goes off script a little bit, and then Butcher shows up. The problem with this finale is it was such a big thing for this whole season for Homelander to get V1, which he did, and he acts no different. I was talking to my friend Gavin about it, shout out Gavin, and he pointed out a very good point. Homelander doesn't get to be menacing or a villain before he's pathetic. So I'm gonna basically Kimiko, her chest cannon beam thing, it takes away people's powers just like Soldier Boy, and Homelander, he's fighting Ryan and Butcher, and he basically can't get out. They don't let him escape, which is another problem that a lot of people have, and I kind of share the same sentiment. But Homelander has been shown to be able to fly incredibly fast, and for some reason, his life is literally on the line. His powers are on the line, and he just can't seem to get out of a building, out of the window that's like 5 feet away from him. It's kind of annoying. It feels like they just wanted, it felt like a very like, fine, here ending. Like that's what this finale to this giant show feels like. But basically, Kimiko hits him with the chest beam, which takes Butcher's powers, it takes Ryan's powers, and it takes Homelander's powers. And Homelander basically starts crying like a little baby, saying crazy things. I'll give you Vought. I'll have a shapeshifter be your dead wife. I'll SYD. I'll do all this crazy stuff, which is in line for Homelander. This whole show, or even this season specifically, has been trying to tell you that Homelander is nothing without his powers. He wants to be accepted by people so bad, and he is willing to scare them into accepting him because of his powers, but without them, he's nothing. It's literally what A-Train says, which is, I think, is a good full circle moment. The first episode, A-Train says, "What was I scared of? You're nothing." And at the end of the show, Homelander is nothing. He is the same exact thing that A-Train said, but the problem is, before that, I thought, dude, Homelander, I thought was going to be a problem. I thought he was going to be killing people, or I thought more of the boys were going to die. I thought that it was going to be way bigger than it was, and it was just kind of lackluster and very disappointing. It's I thought Homelander was gonna have this big monologue. I'm a god. You can't do this to me. You think you're better than me? You people need me. The same kind of monologue that he was giving in the previous seasons, he doesn't give here. He basically fights for 5 minutes where, mind you, it's weak as fuck. It's weak ass. It's a weak ass fight scene. And he just loses his powers and then cries like a little baby. He wasn't menacing at all in this finale. Everything that we've seen up to this point, he is believes in himself. He is a fucking villain, and in this last episode, he's just not, and it's just sad. I don't know. It's like, that's what this ending was. It's not bad. It's not Game of Thrones. Stop comparing it to Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, it actively felt like the writers were like, how can we undo everything that we did for the last 7 seasons? This show, it was just like we need to end it. How can we do that and make everybody happy? And it was just kind of mid. It's just mid. It's like middle of the road. Okay. That's what this finale is. Butcher ends up beating her. He says, this is for Frenchie, and then this is for Becca. And I thought he was going to beat him to death with the crowbar, but he doesn't do that. It's just kind of mid. And it's like 25, 30 minutes in, Homelander's dead, and there's still 20 minutes, 25 minutes left of the episode. And it's like, wait, we won? Like, I don't know. Basically, they go back, oh, all is good. Ashley tries to take over Vought or be a president, and she gets arrested, which that's another like like the problem with this finale is it does wrap up characters and plots, but like not satisfyingly. Like it's wrapped up, but are you happy about it? Not really. So like Ashley is a character, she survived Homelander, 5 straight seasons of being around this dude, and she lived. And then she tries to become president, and we just see a screen grab of her in a cop car, and we're just supposed to assume that she's now forever in jail for all the shit that she did. And like, I'm not saying Ashley's a good person and deserved to be president, but like, that's what it is. Another character, Sage. She loses her powers to Kimiko's chest cannon because we needed to test if it actually worked or not, and it hits Sage. Sage's power was that her brain is ever growing, and that makes her the smartest person in the world because her brain is much bigger than everybody, which makes her smarter than everybody. She gets chest blasted and loses her powers. Why is she a moron? She goes from the smartest person in the world to actually dumber than a bag of rocks. And it's frustrating because all of the shit that she knew, she doesn't forget it. Her brain just stopped growing. It doesn't shrink down to the size of a pebble. Like, and then I literally said to my wife when she goes, I'm going to go to Orlando. Anybody want to come with me? I literally leaned over and I go, that's it for her character. We're never going to see her character ever again. And I was right. And like, she got what she wanted. She wants to be left alone and she wants to whatever. But it's like, she was like an integral part of the plan, and now she's just a simpleton. Like, I don't know. Like, it just, this show wrapped up characters, but not satisfyingly. Anyway, the job is all done. Butcher goes to Ryan and is like, hey, we can maybe start over. And Ryan goes, I don't want to start over with you. And then he's like, oh. And then he goes in the room and his dog Terror died of old age. And he's like, all of the Soups need to die. I knew that Butcher was going to die, and as a matter of fact, I think Butcher had to die in this ending. But this is how we get there, is he wants to release the virus because his dog died of old age, and Ryan, a person who earlier on in this season said he didn't want to help Butcher, didn't want to be around Butcher. Also, Ryan was barely in this season at all, and he was there when Butcher tried to talk to him. He said no. Then Homelander tried to talk to him. He said he tried to fight Homelander, got his ass beat, and disappeared for 5 episodes, and then comes back in at the last second to help Butcher fight Homelander. It's just like this whole finale was just lackluster. What it could have been versus what it was. It's like, but I do like Huey being the one to put down Butcher. I think that works really well. I think it was a sad moment. I think Huey crying and everything. I think all the acting was really well. And yeah, let's talk about character wrap up. Kimiko basically, I think, goes to France and tries out the restaurant and stuff that Frenchie was talking about. That's fine. I'm okay with that. That's good. Getting I think remarried. And like adopting Ryan, I think that's great. A lot of people were like, that's random. Why and Ryan never talked? Yeah, but if anybody's gonna raise Ryan, and I'm pretty sure Ryan is not super powered anymore, it's gonna be Butcher said that in one of the seasons. I don't remember when. He said, "Oh, if anything happens to me, take care of Ryan." And also, MM's this whole season was basically like, I'm gonna be a motherfucker with a heart. A lot of people said it was ironic that he hates Soldier Boy so much, but takes care of his grandson. MM's character would not hold the things that Soldier Boy did over Ryan's head, because even though Soldier Boy was Homelander's father, and didn't hate Homelander like he hated Soldier Boy, so why would he hate Ryan? I think that Ryan and being together, that makes sense. And I think Huey and Starlight living together and whatever, everybody's up in arms about naming the kid Robin. Who fucking cares? It is odd because it doesn't feel like something that Starlight would go for, but at the same time, whatever. Who cares? Whatever. But yeah, let me know what your oh wait, sorry. Best character this season. This is really hard for me because this is the wrap up season and I'm trying to look at it as just this season, because if I wasn't, it'd go to I think is like my favorite character. But I think it just needs to go to Homelander. Anthony Starr's performance as Homelander is, I mean, it's top fucking tier all the time. He's the best character in the show. Homelander is the boys. The boys wouldn't be what it is without Homelander. And I'm going to just give it to Homelander. That's just what it has to be, I think. And I think his death was kind of not as satisfying as it could have been, but it's okay. But let me know what you thought about this season. I really want to know. I really thought that this whole season was kind of just, compared to the other seasons, it's just mid. And this finale was safe and it's okay. It's acceptable. But what it could have been for these other, for the Gen V characters, you could have had Soldier Boy and Homelander fighting back to back against like 8 people, but holding their own. You could have had Homelander being the god that he thought he was, killing civilians, not giving a shit. He killed the fucking president. He doesn't care. He has V1. He's a fucking god. He's a living legend. And it just felt like he's regular old Homelander. But yeah, let me know what you thought. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.